And for our next game, we find ourselves on Reacto. Is this still the newest map, Sam?
This is indeed still the newest map.
So that means a lot of players haven't had as much time to practice on this one as they would some of the others. So it'll be interesting to see what strategies teams have come up with.
It is also, for the first section, very tight corners as well.
Yeah, the first
Very
part,
compact.
I feel Orisa and Reinhardt shine with their shields at this first point. At least, especially the first corner and the bridge. However, it does open up into this plaza bit quite nicely. Though a lot of players don't seem to take advantage of the verticality it offers and the open space.
No.
So yeah, as I say, it'd be interesting to see what stratagems teams come up with for it.
I think it'd be interesting to see where a Widow decides to settle for this, because the high ground doesn't give you too much of an advantageous position, because, well, it's not really that high, is it?
That's true.
Comparatively to other maps.
Yeah, and as we were already pointing out, the first part of this map is quite cornery and quite bendy, so there's not really long sight lines across the entire objective path. So you do have to move around quite a bit as Widow to keep the advantageous positions.
It is also very dangerous when coming around this area, because of course, as soon as it turns the corner, there's nowhere really for a Widow to look through without being in a very dangerous position.
Yes, indeed. It's interesting to see the bridge strats here with the Orisa and the Roadhog trying to get a pick onto someone and drag them off potentially.
Yeah.
And
it's right immediately.
Just like they did with the nice easy pick on Vegeta, followed up by a quick clean up on the tank.
And interestingly, the tanks of the attacking team have pushed very far forward.
Yes.
And left the
Leave
payload.
the rest of their team behind, and it just leaves them susceptible to that Widow res. Oh, the Widow res, sorry, the Mercy res. I say that and get confused just as the Widow takes out the other Widow.
It's also a Zenyatta throwing his orbs in the hope of getting something.
Trying to contest the Widowmaker, I feel. They're going to try the same tactic again, these tanks from the offensive team. Although it does look to be a bit more successful this time round with the rest of their team following closely in support.
See, last time they didn't have the support players with them, so the Mercy was still on the other side of the bridge. So they lacked healing as soon as they went round the corner out the side of Zenyatta. This time healing, they've managed.
Definitely helps them taking a step back, gathering up, coordinating with their team to get in there all together as well. This is a very aggressive Reinhardt player. Oh my lord, what a shatter.
Oh, and that's just unfortunate timing for Orisa.
Oh, we see the Beaver doing the classic Widow on the point, the only Widow EU to ever get on the point.
I would say that's a very solid push from the attacking team there.
Oh,
They
that
struggled.
was a clean right click there.
Oh, no, did I miss a hook?
No, it wasn't a hook, it was just a beautifully timed right click that took out the Tracer.
That's good. You know how much I love a hook.
I do know, yes. It's unfortunate we don't see a Roadhog on both sides here, so we don't see any pull pork combinations going on. However, they are all very close to that edge and could easily all be knocked into the river.
Yep. And it's certainly an interesting grab. I assumed that it would be.
Ran out of ammunition.
I assumed the grab there would be matched with the Tracer bomb, but seem to have different targets.
Yeah, I feel it's just an overall lack of communication potentially from both teams here. It's like I feel like every one of them are probably good players in their own minds, which is fine. But it's when you get
defensive
6,
team haven't noticed here.
The defensive team haven't noticed. What haven't they noticed?
There's a sneaky Tracer behind, just waiting.
Is there?
Look at the Widow.
Oh dear. Yep. Oh, and gets one clipped.
No one's even turning to face them.
Someone must have called this out. There's a tracer behind.
The Zenyatta didn't even look behind it. That's a communication shambles there. And that tracer has arguably won them this push.
Potentially, yes. I don't know if they can recuperate and get a defensive hold here.
Reinhardt's
Especially not if this
alone.
Reinhardt goes down. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And questionable there from the Pharah, leaping up into the air with no cover, and the Widow just has free reign. Open season.
There hasn't been much specifically to counter this Widow other than a counter Widow. I feel like this Kerry player has been performing pretty consistently. It's not been amazing. It's not been potentially game-changing moments, but it's just that the support that the Widow offers a team is not. It's presence that shouldn't just be ignored. I feel like they may have fared better if they took an active counter to it, such as like a Genji or even a Winston, just to dive for it.
Definitely. Although we did see last time, when they had a counter Genji, not very much happened in the way of countering the actual Widow. They tried to rely on the Widow versus Widow battle, which if you're not winning, it's disastrous.
It is indeed. Oh, that was a poor rocket barrage right there. I think
that's a good stick. This is a matter now of when and not if.
Yeah. Can they hold it out and stall it for another couple of seconds? No, that's it. Well, I feel they definitely lacked vision on that second point for letting the tracer go completely unnoticed. Even after getting the
communication.
Even after getting that pick on the Widow, it was still almost as though they didn't want to do anything about it, or didn't know what to do about it.
The Pharah was in the air, the clean side of the ground, and the Zenyatta was being shot from behind. How he didn't even turn around? I'm not so sure. Oh, we have a DC.
So let's reflect on that last round. What do the defensive team need to do here to hold the offense? What would need to be done? Because obviously they've got a lot of time on their bank, which they don't want to need to use. I think they want to end it here and now.
Of course.
So they know that there's probably going to be a Widowmaker, because Beaver has been playing it quite consistently across this game and the previous.
Yeah.
So they would be expecting that. What would they need to do?
I would say they need to. We had the Roadhog before on the defense, but I think it would be better to have 2 shields.
Okay.
Because if you can have the 2 shields, and they try to attack, like the Widow, they can't do anything. The shields are up. If the other Widow is behind the shield, that Widow cannot do a single thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then if you've got a Junkrat, say, as a DPS as well.
On the offense or defense?
On the defense, because it's such a narrow corridor, it is very difficult to avoid that splash damage.
That's true. Yep.
So I think 2 shields
and
and a Junkrat
if the offensive team are running a shield, which is most likely on an escort map, it's going to be a Reinhardt or an Orisa, pretty much guaranteed. A Roadhog. A Junkrat is very good at destroying those shields very quickly.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And we may have to have a sub. Interesting. Now, how do you think this will affect the now attacking team? Defending even?
They're obviously going to have to make some adjustments, because on the
Yeah.
fly they've got to adapt to the fact that they've got a new player subbing in.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it would be too much of a something to worry about. Like you'd assume that they've at least played with them before, so they know a bit about what they play.
Yeah. But it's what happens if they're not a DPS like Kerry was, because Kerry was a very good flanking tracer there. Arguably won them the second point.
No, that was Bad Rabbits that was playing the tracer.
Was that
Kerry was the sniper, the Widowmaker.
Oh, I'm getting confused here.
Yeah.
How professional of me.
How very, very professional.
No, now. Okay, we're not. Seems to be having some organisational issues. Okay. We're nearly a full team now.
I was going to say, nearly back at it. Nearly back at full strength.
Yeah. How do you think the attacking team can line up?
The attacking team, I feel that I can see they've already decided to go for an Orisa, which is the shield on Escort, which you'd expect. However, the last tank has been picked, and I feel that it's going to be a Roadhog, because they're definitely trying at least to be a bit more reliable with the halt into the air, followed by a quick hook to easily pick off a target. And that also doubles pretty well on this map because it guarantees a kill if you can hook them and then drag them off the bridge. So if you do that onto a big target like a Reinhardt or even another Roadhog, it's a very easy way to clear one person. And another thing with an environmental kill is they are unresable with an environmental kill. That leaves leaves it open to a bit more. Even if they take out another target and they get resurrected, it's still a 5v6 because
Although there's one thing I could question about that. While if you're hooking them into the river as the attacking team, that puts your Roadhog in a dangerous position because for a few seconds there, he cannot move.
Yes, but that's paired up well with the Orisa. You have the Orisa shield down in front, and then halt up into the air, drag the target off into the river.
Yep.
So there needs to be a lot of communication to pull it off and make sure that Roadhog is indeed safe.
Yeah. They're going to have to... Communication seems to be an area which the team doesn't seem to be able to gel on properly. So
I mean,
they're going to have to time the halt properly.
Every team needs to get better at it, and the only way to get better at it is to do it and be more often, which is why we're in matches like this, to ensure that they're being integral and talking to each other and communicating and getting each of their points across. And at the end of the day, it also helps them bond better as a team, so they know when, or they can say less and less each time and get the same point across. The more that you know someone, you know how they say things, not just what they're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we seem to have Kerry back.
Oh, Kerry has returned, yes.
This is good. This is good.
So, does this make the? Does this mean we can continue?
I believe we've got the half already.
Oh, there we go. We're continuing.
We are
now.
good to begin the second half of this map.
How wonderful.
Although looking at the free
they seem to have switched around the tanks that we were thinking they were going to do.
They have. Now,
the defensive team. They're the defensive team are going to be pulling out the Roadhog Orisa combination.
Yep. Some.
Both teams running the same healers, and the DPS difference being a Pharah to a Tracer.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure how well the Pharah is going to do in this narrow corridor. Because if you're up in the air, there's
the
just
one
a small
thing
window for the Widow to look at.
I really quite like the Pharah Widowmaker pick personally on the offense, because it means that the defensive Widowmaker has 2 dangerous targets that are going to be focusing him. So if Kerry decides to focus the Pharah, looks away for a second, gets headshot by the Beaver. If she's trying to get the Beaver and misses, you got Numi firing down on her. So I think it's quite nicely thought about, I feel. Because again, I think they knew that they were going to be coming against the Widowmaker. It's been quite a consistent pick by Kerry.
There seems to be a consistent pick by everybody at the moment. And
we have another pause. What's this
Do
one?
we have another DC?
Now this is quite annoying because there is a Orisa machine gun going off in my ears.
I'm experiencing the same thing here, as are all the spectators.
Yeah, every single one of us can hear Justice Orisa. I didn't need my ears anyway. I think I'm going to turn the sound down.
It's okay.
Oh, it's
okay.
Okay, yeah. And we're
Okay.
returning.
Now hopefully Orisa stops shooting
There we
me.
go. It's looking frail from the defensive team here. They've already lost one, and they've pulled back quite far already into the plaza, deep into the plaza.
They didn't seem to put up much of a defense,
There
really.
wasn't much resistance there, was there?
No, like it wasn't a quick push, but at the same time, they've just managed to slowly get it through, and the defense is backed off.
Yeah.
And your call about the Pharah on the Widow has indeed come true.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really smart choice to go for that, because obviously the Widow needs to be focusing the Pharah, but if the Widow focuses Pharah, it leaves her very open to a Widowmaker.
As we've just seen.
Just seen again.
This here is better from the defense. They've held in the one place.
Yeah, this is an easier corner to hold than the first corner, I feel, because you can have your Widowmakers and McCrees or whatever up in on the balconies. But I mean, they're not running either of those. They're running the Widowmaker, but obviously the Widowmaker was dead at the time. So this is forcing the offensive team to come back, which is a shame because the Xayah is on quite high charge and now having to pull out of combat. She's losing all those stacks, all that free damage is going. It's not what they want.
My ultimate is almost ready.
And now they've just been lingering around a bit more as well and undecisive about which direction to go, causing them to lose more charge. But there is a massive ult advantage on the offensive team here.
Tracer has ran behind the Widow. And they've backed out into the signal.
No one can hide.
And they survived this whole hog. But I think I don't know if that whole hog didn't really do a fat lot, but it was a good time to use it. It caused the attacking team to take a step back, which might be, although that was an awful shatter straight into a new Orisa shield.
I feel like we've seen that sometimes in the past couple of games. Shatters from both teams have been fairly lackluster, to say the least, I would say.
60 seconds.
I feel what's worse here as well is that we have a Pharah ult with a Xayah ult, but that's another combination that can just be straight up cancelled by the Transcendence.
Yeah, which the defensive team have saved.
They have definitely saved for this coming assault. They know that their threat, the offensive team's like win condition for these fights is going to be a huge grab into a Pharah barrage.
Yeah.
So unless they can get some fairly early picks before the grab, No, there's the grab now, and there's
There we
the
go.
exit expected.
They
It manages to get to. That was pretty well done. Although one gets rezzed. This Zaya's on very high charge right now, but it's the only target alive. I feel this could be it. I don't think anyone can touch the point.
The Reinhardt will be there just.
Oh, just about clipped the point. That was a transit. Can this be saved? Another shatter potentially coming out there. Oh, it gets pushed behind the Orisa shield again.
That is unfortunate. That is a good play by the Roadhog.
But both those tanks on the defensive team are incredibly low right now.
The Widow is completely uncontested, has free reign on the Zen. Doesn't manage to capitalize.
Orisa's on.
do have
The
them.
Zaya's on really high charge again now. This is a last ditch effort. They need to make it here or it's over. What can be done? They're forcing the Roadhog and the Mercy back. There's a Tracer piddling around the point somewhere. Oh, and it gets shut down. And that was a nice recovery to get that. That was looking pretty bad, but they managed to pull something out there.
I didn't think they were going to manage that there.
I must admit, I didn't have much faith, but it was really well composed to bring it back.
And unfortunately, they're not sticking with the Sombra. I would have liked to see a bit of a Sombra play, but they're
Sombra's
gone back
always
to Widow
entertaining
mode.
to watch as a commentator.
Yeah. Oh, that is an unfortunate hook from Zari there. Straight through the building.
Yep. The Reinhardt is pretty unsupported on this point right now, although he's
He's
managing to
boosted
hold back
Orisa.
the Orisa. It's fairly interesting. They are slowly but surely moving that payload. And there is a tracer bomb to go with the grab if one happens. But it won't take out the tanks anymore, remember? Due to the recent change of it doing only 300 damage.
Although you would think any sort of follow-up afterwards is
Should be
enough.
enough, yeah. Okay, there's looking at 5 ults sitting on the attacking team now. Oh, I feel like the Zaya forgot there was a Widowmaker there and just sitting around standing in the open. His Reinhardt shield isn't going to last long if he just keeps holding it up and getting nothing for it. This is an interesting path they're taking. Oh, the massive pick. Again, the Transcendence was waiting.
It was. I feel like that's now going to happen, unfortunately, from any time they have a grab. Xenia is just going to hold on to that Transcendence.
Yeah. Might be worth considering a switch off into a different tank combination, potentially. What I really like against the Zenyatta is a Winston, because a Winston, even if there's a grab going on, not a grab, a Transcendence, you can push the Transcendence away from the rest of their team.
Yeah. Although now, the attacking team did just split apart, and they were just picked one by
that
one.
is unfortunate. Well, we now stand at 1 apiece.
We do. Do we get a tiebreaker?
I'm sure we're about to find out.
Certainly hope we do. I certainly hope we do. See, this is the Bad Rabbit Tracer. Game changer, I would
Yep,
say at once.
absolutely game changing. Shit. Always knew where to position, and the opposing team just did not seem to be able to react
No,
with anywhere near enough time to make it count.
Oh, we've got a 2-minute break here, so I do believe we're going to have a tie break.
How exciting.